In Peru, repressive actions continue. Peruvian police raided the headquarters of the farmers' communities and arrested 11 people. In the United States, authorities registered over 15 million cases of influenza, as well as more than 9,000 deaths due to this disease. And in Palestine, the health ministry raised to 216 the number of people killed by Israeli security forces or soldiers in the occupied territories. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. On Saturday, Peruvian security forces continued to carry out repressive actions and raided headquarters of the Confederation of Farmer Communities. The police raided the facilities of the Confederation of Farmer Communities using the powers granted by the state of emergency that annuls home inviolability rights. During the action, at least 11 people were arrested. Lawyers denounced that they have been denied access to the arrested citizens. This situation occurred shortly after President Dina Boluarte expressed her willingness to dialogue with the mobilized population in the country. Human rights organizations denounced tortures and detentions in Peru during social protests demanding Congress to be dismissed, a constituent process, and the release of former President Pedro Castillo. Clashes between the police and demonstrators in Apurímac, Arequipa, Ayacucho, La Libertad, Junín, and other regions of the country have worsened and left several people dead. On Friday, the Junín Regional Health Department reported 3 deaths during the social protests following the ousting of Pedro Castillo. According to a recent report, a total of 52 people have been injured as a result of the confrontations in the district of Pichanaki. They also reported more than 70 arbitrary detentions nationwide. In the meantime, several human rights organizations have called on both police to put an end to the clashes and return to calm so no more civilians died. The non-governmental organization Peru's Pro-Human Rights Association announced Friday that it is preparing a complaint against the Congress-appointed President Dina Boluarte for aggravated homicide given the over 20 people killed nationwide during the protests. Speaking to the press, the NGO's lawyer Gloria Cano said that there should be no doubt about Dina Boluarte's full responsibility in the events occurred in Ayacucho. In this regard, she said the simple fact of taking the army to the streets and not warning them the firearms were not to be used makes her responsible. The social protests that have claimed the lives of more than 20 people broke out on December 7th when Congress dismissed President Pedro Castillo, who was ordered to serve an 18-month pre-trial detention while a judicial process against him for alleged rebellion is underway. Peru's designated President Dina Boluarte described as violent the popular protest demanding the Congress closure and a constituent process. Boluarte made the statements during a press conference with her ministers. The president called on Congress to reflect and work to promote a solution to the crisis the country is experiencing. She subsequently affirmed that the social demonstrations taking place in Peru are not peaceful and have affected several state institutions.
I ask these groups in conflict, what do they stand to gain, or what is their purpose? Closing airports, rendering airport facilities useless, burning police stations, burning judiciary institutions, the public prosecutor's office. What is the purpose of all that? These are not peaceful marches. Those are not social demands.
Peruvian President Dina Boluarte accused Congress of interfering in the advance of country's elections.
We have already submitted our petition and our proposal to Congress. You may have seen yesterday's vote in Congress. It seems they want to block the possibility of advancing the elections. The Congress has to reflect on this, work and act for the country. 83% of the Peruvian population wants to advance elections, so Congress representatives shouldn't look for pretexts not to hold early elections.
The government of Honduras and the United Nations organization have signed a memorandum of understanding which gave the green light to the setup of the International Commission Against Corruption and Impunity in Honduras. The deputies of the Liberty and Foundation Party at the Honduran Congress welcomed the signing of the document and reiterated their support to the President, Xiomara Castro, and thanked her for honoring a campaign promise. In this regard, they committed themselves to cooperate with the government's efforts in the fight against corruption and impunity. According to a press release, the agreement for the arrival of the International Commission Against Corruption and Impunity will be submitted to the National Congress for its approval and subsequent enforcement, which, according to the President, will be done in an independent and fair manner. Let's take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at the account at TeleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the South. In Venezuela, various events are held to commemorate the 192nd anniversary of Simón Bolívar's death. The 192nd anniversary of Liberator Simón Bolívar's death is commemorated this Saturday with a flag raising at the National Pantheon located in Caracas. Alana Zuluaga, Vice Minister of Domestic Policy and Legal Security, handed over the national flag to the Secretary Vice President for Citizen Security and Peace, Admiral-in-Chief Remigio Ceballos Ichazo, who in turn handed it over to Major Lieutenant Miguel Ángel García Hernández from the Bolivarian Military University of Venezuela. At the end of the ceremony, the minutes of the celebrations were read and signed by the authorities in attendance as a symbol of having rendered the appropriate honors to the father of the homeland, Simón Bolívar.
What a hard road you had to follow, Father Bolívar. But here you are. Here is your people. Here is your thought. Your feeling is in force. But above all things, you're here. And you're not alone, Father Bolívar. And we are not alone, Father Bolívar. We continue forward with your deep and revolutionary message.
On Friday, Cuban and Venezuelan authorities revised bilateral agreements and evaluated new common interest areas for cooperation. Venezuela's Executive Vice President Delcy Rodriguez and Cuban Vice Prime Minister Ramiro Valdez reviewed the progress and perspectives of the bilateral comprehensive cooperation agreement during a meeting in Caracas. This document includes 22 items that cover health, education, economic, and cultural development, among others. The parties also work on the search for new common interests and cooperation areas to deepen the already historical mutual fraternal bonds. On Friday, also, Colombian and Venezuelan authorities signed a bilateral plan for the gradual reactivation of the international cargo and passenger transport by land. Authorities and businessmen from both countries met in Bogotá on December 15 and 16 to continue advancing in the re-establishment of the economic dynamics. Within the framework of this first bilateral governmental trade union and business meeting, the Venezuelan authorities presented 16 binational projects. Among other topics, they discussed about the strengthening of monomerous companies, as well as the incorporation of a new airline that will operate between Colombia and Venezuela. The Office of the High Commissioner for Peace in Colombia confirmed this Friday that two illegal armed groups announced unilateral ceasefire. In a statement, the organization explained that the Mexican Revolutionary Forces and the North Armed Forces RPS cartel, which work in the city of Quibdó in Choco's department, sent letters in which they expressed their willingness to stop hostilities. In a text, the diplomatic organization stated that both groups' decisions would mitigate the situation of violence and insecurity that leave Quibdó inhabitants and its surroundings. The organization stressed to both groups that the government of President Gustavo Petro is willing, through the Peace Office, to initiate a process of rapprochement. In the United States, authorities registered 15 million cases of influenza in the country, as well as more than 9,000 deaths due to this disease. A joint report by every Centers for Disease Control and Prevention details that seasonal influenza continues to increase throughout the country. Among the most affected states with a very high level of infection are Washington, Idaho, Colorado, New Mexico, Nebraska, and Tennessee. According to the report, Michigan, Delaware, and Hawaii show moderate levels, while New Hampshire, Virgin Islands, Alaska, and Mariana Islands are among those with the lowest rates of infection. The report mentions that 9 children died during the week, which increased the number of children deaths to 30%. So far, the death toll stands at 9,300. At least 100,000 nurses in the United Kingdom participate in a strike to demand a 19% wage increase following the fall in purchasing power and the inflationary crisis. This is the first time that British nurses have been on strike in more than 100 years. The labor conflict forced the closure of more than 70,000 medical visits and surgeries. The Royal Union of the British College of Nursing affirmed that the strike will continue until changing the position of Rishi Sunak's government, which until now has been unyielding. According to analysts, the thousands of professionals participating in this strike show their unhappiness with the hike in prices and the crisis in the European country's public health system. We have more news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back from the south. Russian forces have neutralized Ukrainian attacks on the territory of Donetsk. Russian Defense Ministry spokesman Igor Konashenkov said that as a result of Russian troops' activities over the past 24 hours on the Krasno-Limansky front of Donetsk, 30 Ukrainian soldiers were killed and 2 armored fighting vehicles were destroyed. Also in the South Donetsk area, artillery fire killed another 35 Ukrainian soldiers and destroyed 2 armored vehicles. Besides, 2 Kiev sabotage and reconnaissance groups were detected and dismantled in the settlements of Novamayor Sokoye and Shoshenko. In Serbia, NATO's peacekeeping mission in Kosovo, KFOR, increases its presence to the north of the self-proclaimed republic. NATO's mission officials stated they have the capacity and personnel to guarantee a safe environment and freedom of movement for all communities. The organization pointed out its intervention complies with Resolution 1244 of UN Security Council, and it aims at maintaining order and security in the region. In this sense, the KFOR assured that it will continue to observe UN mandates and call on the parties to commit themselves to guaranteeing security and seeking solutions through dialogue. The Palestinian Health Ministry raised to 216 the number of people killed this year by Israeli security forces or settlers in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. On its part, the latest report of the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs confirmed that Israeli troops killed 175 Palestinians and wounded more than 9,700, mainly during the month of August. The UN office said that during this year, Israeli forces demolished more than 800 Palestinian structures, causing the displacement of some 980 people. OSHA said 2022 was the year with the most murders of Palestinians in the West Bank since the United Nations began keeping records in 2005. In Tunisia, citizens go to the polls this Saturday to elect a new parliament. Polling stations open at 8 a.m. local time and are expected to close at 6 p.m. Nearly 9.3 million registered voters have been called to vote and will have to choose from a total of 1,058 candidates who have run for office. According to the first balance presented by Farouk Bousker, president of the higher electoral authorities, 270,032 citizens had already cast their ballots in the first 2 voting hours. Bousker praised this figure as a positive and respectable number of voters demonstrating their responsibility. This is the first voting since President Kais Saied suspended the opposition-controlled parliament in July 2021 and then dissolved it. Despite the difficult situation in Syria due to factors beyond their control, the people continue to cling to life. The Christmas fair that opened its door in Damascus for December holiday season is an example of this reality. A correspondent, Hisham Wanus, with the details.
La iluminación de un
The lighting of a giant Christmas tree, together with numerous musical performances, kicked off the Christmas fair organized by the Syrian Handicraft Company at the old Damascus Fairgrounds, an event that spreads joy, love, and peace in the midst of the current difficult situation of the Syrian people, and also consolidates the bonds of brotherhood among the different components of the Syrian society.
It is a beautiful event that spreads joy and hope in the midst of the current difficult situation we are going through. So we have the right to have faith and to make our children happy and joyful, and I hope there will always be such initiative in Syria. The current situation we are going through, like the whole world, is not easy, but there are always initiatives and attempts to cheer the hearts of people, children and their families, and this Christmas fair is part of these attempts to overcome difficulties with joy. This activity is a sign of our will to live and that we want to do it in peace, and therefore we want our enemies to leave us alone and our friends to help us achieve this goal. It is also a political message to the other governments and people of the world that the Syrian people want to live and expect them to help them live.
This event will last 15 days and involves 70 artisans and producers from several Syrian governorships, who exhibit their handicraft creations, food and clothing, among others, in wooden huts. According to both artisans and visitors of the fair, this is an important opportunity to present, promote, and market natural products at very economic prices.
The main advantage of this fair is that it constitutes an important opportunity to present and sell at reasonable prices traditional Syrian handicrafts that are an essential part of our cultural heritage and symbolize the millenary civilized history of our people with their meticulous craftsmanship work.
I will destine my profits to help sick people, so that with this income they can buy the medicines they need in their treatments, and this is why I am participating in the Christmas fair. Besides, encouraging others to develop and promote these projects of social solidarity with much more intensity.
In addition to exhibits of handicraft products, there will also be artistic activities, musical performances, parties for children and adults, as well as raffles to distribute Christmas gifts. It is a space for joy that generates hope and faith in the fact that the crisis that has plagued Syria for more than 11 years will finally come to an end.
Hisham Wannous, TeleSUR, Damascus, Syria.
On Saturday, Croatia won the third-place match of the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022. The Croatians won 2-1 Morocco and are again in the podium of the world after being the runner-up in Russia 2018. The Moroccan dream against the talent and the golden generation of Croatia. The third-place match had other nuances, unlike in other World Cups when this type of duel has lost its incentive. Croatia opened the scoreboard in the 5th minute in a tactical play which led to a goal by Josko Guardiol, who closed a great performance in the FIFA World Cup. Quickly, Morocco tied the game in a similar play thanks to a header from Achraf Dari. In minute 42, Miroslav Orsic shot from the left side and put the ball in the angle, letting Bono without options to stop it. Croatia achieved its third podium and closed a golden era. Meanwhile, Morocco won the love of every football fan. As the hearts of millions of fans live the emotions of the Qatar 2022 World Cup, TeleSUR joins this sporting event with From the Field, a show that brings news, analysis, reviews, and more to our audience. Don't miss it, our show airs at 1 p.m. local time in Caracas and 12 p.m. New York. Remember, From the Field, only on TeleSUR. We have come to the end of this news briefing. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.